Good morning, Abby. It's Monday, and I appear to have finally gotten over my Tony Myers withdrawal. Unfortunately, a side effect of TMW is that it renders you extremely unproductive, and as such, I have not prepared anything for this week's video in advance. However, I'm sure it'll be okay, because, it can't actually be Monday right now, right? Oh, God. Now that I've spent a ridiculously long time talking about Jax Novoa, we can proceed to spend a ridiculously long time talking about everything else. And the easiest way for me to do it is to go through all of the other plot lines in descending order of importance. So we'll start with Desdemona. So at the end of the last season, the principal performed some sort of weird ritual to try and steal Emma's powers, involving Emma, Maddie, and Diego. And at the beginning of this season, all three of those characters had their powers temporarily disappear. How? Emma and Diego got their powers back almost immediately, but Maddie's powers transported to her mom for some reason? Daniel was under the impression that Emma's powers were gone for good, and he was really happy about that because, A, he feels really useless in magic situations since he can't, help protect Emma or whatever, and B, he has a complex about being lied to as a result of dating Maddie. And so Emma sees how happy Daniel is with the powerless version of her, and she just decides to not tell him that she got her powers back because she's smart. Right at the start of the second season, we get introduced to 3 representatives from the Witches' Council. Actually, now that I think about it, they might be the entirety of the Witches' Council, considering that you never see anyone else claiming to be from there. We have Agamemnon, a British wizard guy with crazy goggles, Desdemona, who both looks and acts like a less fun version of Minerva McGonagall, and Ramona, who is an idiot who has even less of a personality than Daniel. They tell Emma that she is not allowed to date a human for some reason, and they threaten to remove her powers if she doesn't break up with Daniel. Will they ever do that, even though Emma continues to date Daniel? No! Rule number 1 of every which way. The Witches' Council never does anything. The most interesting thing that they ever do is confirm that Emma's mother was a witch, but she had her powers taken away because she refused to break up with Emma's dad, who's just a regular human. But otherwise, pretty much all they do is just stand around threatening to do things, and then proceed to not do those things, and then get surprised when crap hits the fan later, as if it, wasn't completely their fault for being inactive pieces of crap. Halfway through 2 grown adults' attempts to bully a teenage girl, Agamemnon and Desdemona realize that Ramona has disappeared. Yes, these idiots are so incompetent that they can't even pay attention to stuff that is happening in the same room as them. Why did we put them in charge of all witches everywhere again? Apparently the Witches' Council has to have at least 3 representatives on Earth at all times, for some reason, so they force Lily to quit her job as school nurse and Emma's guardian to become a member of the council, further confirming my suspicions that the entire Witches' Council is just 3 people. However, because Emma still needs a guardian, they put Desdemona in her place at the school. If Desdemona can be a council member and a guardian, then why can't Lily? What is the point of this switcheroo? Well, it turns out that the point is that Desdemona is evil, and this was all part of her plan, but Agamemnon isn't evil, so it makes no sense that this would be the course of action that he would agree to go with. Anyway, Desdemona is evil. Well, she's not normally evil, but once every, 20 years, there's, this special lunar event called the full moon, and for most witches and wizards, it just kind of makes them a little more impulsive with their magic and more likely to make bad decisions. However, for Desdemona, for some reason, it turns her into an evil witch with 80s hair. Because plot. Another quality of the full moon is that its last rays of light can be used in some sort of weird magic ritual to destroy the magic realm, therefore taking away everyone else's powers, except for the powers of those who cast the ritual, I guess, and allowing you to rule the world since no one else has powers and therefore no one would be able to stand up to you. Since the full moon has happened, before, you'd think that the Witches' Council would try and take some sort of precautionary measures to make it so that people can't destroy the magic realm. But no! You know why? Because the Witches' Council is more useless than all of the adults from a series of unfortunate events combined. Random side thing, there is one scene where Desdemona mentions that Emma's mom actually helped her through a tough full moon a while back, but it's never brought up again, so she may have just been lying to try and, get Emma's sympathy. I just thought it was interesting because the first season didn't really reference Emma's mom a whole lot, other than just that she was dead, Whereas in this season, they're starting to bring her up more often, and that's just leaning into my theory that there's going to be an Emma's mom reveal at the end of the last season. Emma's mom is the principal, I'm telling you guys. That's going to happen. Desdemona's plan is to influence Emma to continue dating Daniel, because then the Witches' Council will supposedly have to take her powers away, and that will weaken the magic realm and make it easier to destroy. As I've mentioned before, explaining things is not the show's strong point. So, in summary, Desdemona is essentially posing as Emma's guidance counselor and MacGyvering things from behind the scene to try and make her OTP happen. If only we could all do that.
What you say?
Actually, since I brought up the precious cinnamon bun Tony Myers, let's talk about how writing him and Mac out of the story actually opens up a gigantic gaping plot hole. In case you're curious how they wrote them out, Tony supposedly got a scholarship to some magician school, and Mac had to go move to Texas or something. The whole reason the Witches' Council doesn't want witches and humans to be romantically involved is because they're afraid that if all humans find out about witches, they're gonna pull another Salem witch trial or something. Their goal is to make it so that as few humans know about witches as possible. So they're just not at all concerned about the 2 humans who know about witches who recently just moved out of the Miami area? No, we're just not gonna bring up Mac and Tony at all? Okay, if you say so, man. Anyway, back to Desdemona. Actually technically back to Gigi, because halfway through the season, Gigi starts to piece together that there are witches at the high school, and so she's about to blog on her website and, like, ruin the whole thing when Desdemona catches her, so she decides to make Gigi her minion. You know, this could have actually resulted in some really cool character development for Gigi. Like, right now, she's just this annoying gossip character who puts everything she hears on her blog. But maybe by finding out that her brother and everyone else has powers, she could learn that not everything has to be blogged about and that certain things can be kept private and it's not going to, like, ruin her journalistic integrity or something. However, at the end of the season, they just kind of wipe her memory, and then she's just exactly the same as she's always been, just with slightly better acting this time. Alright, y'all, I'm about to start discussing the clone business, so, like, get your popcorn ready, because this is kind of insane. As I mentioned in the Jax video, Emma creates a clone of herself who turns out to be evil. In the show, they always referred to her as, like, the bad Emma or the evil Emma, but when I was a kid, I always referred to her as the dark Emma, so that's what I'm going to call her here, because I think it sounds cooler. Dark Emma was originally created so that regular Emma didn't have to go to this boring math thing with her dad, but Dark Emma doesn't want to do that either, so she creates another clone of herself. This one likes math, and therefore she must be socially awkward and wear glasses, because, you know, all people who like math are nerd stereotypes, and they can't just be, you know, regular people who just happen to like math. Math Emma, at some point, creates another clone of herself. This one is a hippie. That's it. At some point, they also create a 5th clone that I like to call Lazy Emma. She's only in, like, 2 scenes that never actually does anything. I just wanted to mention her because she's basically just mean. Emma has to use other means to get the clone reversal spell because Jax is butthurt about the real Emma not being the one that he made out with. But when she eventually does get the spell, all of the clones go away peacefully except for the dark one. She actually tries to use the reversal spell back on the original Emma, and their spells end up doing that thing that they always do in Harry Potter where they meet in the middle. Eventually it breaks off, and it looks like the dark Emma died or vanished or whatever, but 10 episodes later, it turns out that she has essentially just been stuck in, like, the Magic Realm's lost and found pile. And that's literally what it is, basically. They call it the Abyss, but let's not kid ourselves. She eventually busts out and finds Jax. And then the evil black hole of a person and Dark Emma team up with Desdemona to try and destroy the Magic Realm. For like 2 seconds, then they all start double-crossing each other. Eventually, Jax becomes good for some reason. The full moon goes away and Desdemona goes back to normal, and Dark Emma died? I mean, like, I have faint recollections of her coming back in later seasons, so I know that she's not, like, dead, but, like, is she dead? Moving on to a different topic, in the absence of the cinnamon bun, who must not be named, I would say that this show's new cutest character is Diego, because he and Maddie go for what is quite possibly the cutest character arc that I have ever seen on this show yet. Freaking hate gnats. At the end of season 1, Maddie took Diego to a school dance in an attempt to make Daniel jealous, and then even though Maddie ignored him the entire night and was pretty much just constantly rude to him, Diego still developed a crush on her. Yeah, the start of their subplot is pretty bad, but then, like, once you get past the beginning, it's surprisingly well put together for the show. At the beginning of this season, when Maddie didn't have her powers back, she started having Diego follow her around as her proxy, and that's literally what she refers to him as the entire series. She never calls him Diego, just proxy. Basically, she just has him do all of the stuff that she would normally do herself with her powers. So, like, if she wants to, like, steal someone's compact mirror, she'll send Diego over to just walk over there and pick it up for her. Diego's fine with this at first, surprisingly, but eventually he does get tired of essentially being Maddie's servant, and he tells her that if she wants a proxy, she needs to start treating him better, and Maddie reluctantly agrees. However, she does eventually start discovering that she likes Diego as more than just a proxy, and she keeps him around even after she gets her powers back. Diego starts bringing out the less witchy side of Maddie, and the two end up falling in love. However, Maddie's mom is racist against Kanai's, so the two have to try and keep their relationship a secret from her. Something to consider. In Season 1, Maddie's sole purpose in the story was to just constantly be a horrible person. And yet, in Season 2, they can write a convincing redemption arc for her, but they can't write a convincing redemption arc for someone who's supposed to be one of the main love interests for the main character. The one thing that I think brought this subplot down is Katie and Sophie's role in it, because they tried to cram in this arc about them being jealous that Maddie's paying more attention to Diego than to them. Honestly, I think that could have worked with Katie, since she's, like, just kind of friends with Maddie because she's, like, desperate for popularity and stuff. But Sophie doesn't really strike me as that sort of person, so it doesn't really work for her. Honestly, my headcanon about these three is that originally in, like, middle school and elementary school, the Panthers were just Maddie and Katie, but then Sophie just started kind of hanging around them and following them because she had no other friends and no one else liked her. And so Maddie and Katie kind of felt bad for her, so they kind of made her an unofficial third Panther. But then after a while, Maddie began to feel really, really bad because literally no one else liked Sophie, so she just decided, screw it, you can become a Panther now. And to this day, Katie still isn't really happy about that. Also, I find it interesting that in Season 1, they just kind of said that Kanai's just had elemental powers, but then in Season 2, and also a lot in Season 3, from what I've seen so far of Season 3, they're starting to expand the powers that Kanai's have, but they're doing it in really haphazard and unexplained ways. Like, for example, in Season 2, there's like a 2-episode dilemma where Diego keeps getting his hand stuck to objects. I literally don't even know. And then at the end of the season, Diego is trying to morph objects. I literally don't even know what that means, but whatever. He ends up creating, like, this mini black hole that ends up being a portal to the area where Desdemona happened to trap the other members of the Witches' Council. That has to be the most ridiculous plot contrivance that I've ever seen. Overall, the plot and writing this season just felt really ADD. Like, there were lots of things that, like, only lasted one episode and then just never got resolved. And everything felt like it came out of nowhere. Like, Season 1, it had its fair share of, like, what the heck is even happening anymore moments, but, like, it at least felt like it had somewhat of a vague idea of where it thought it was going, whereas this season, they were clearly just 100% making up everything as they went along. Like, for example, this season, there was an episode where Maddie's face literally turned into a mood ring. Like, I'm not kidding, like, it was, like, blue when she was sad, and it turned purple when it was angry, and then it turned bright red when she saw Diego, which I thought was kind of cute, but anyway, never resolved. They never tell you, like, who put that spell on her, what was causing it, how they got rid of it. She just shows up next episode with a normal face and it's never brought up again. What the heck? Now I'm going to stop talking about the script and start talking about the people who were hired to bring it to life. I will say that overall the acting did get better in this season, which makes sense because a lot of the actors have more experience under their belts now. However, this is every which way, so the acting still isn't particularly good. The main actress playing Emma, I do know her name, but I'm afraid of mispronouncing it, so I'm not going to say it. I do think she did get better between seasons. She is a tad more expressive now. She's still just really, really bland, though. I do think she did a good job with the clones, making them all, like, their own distinct characters. However, the show goes out of its way to point out that all of the Emma clones are still Emma, just with different characteristics exaggerated. And I don't really feel like she did a good job of making them all seem as different versions of the same character. They all come off as completely different characters. But at the same time, the script seems to forget that a lot as well. So I guess she kind of did decently with what she was given. It's kind of hard to make any of the dialogue in this show spectacular, so I suppose I can't be too hard on the actors. Nick Mariko, is that how you pronounce his last name? Anyway, he plays Daniel. He has improved slightly this season, to the point where Daniel isn't as personalityless as he was last season. Like, he's starting to form the semblance of a personality, but it hasn't, like, fully, like, formed yet. Given that I was not the biggest fan of Paris Smith's portrayal of Maddie in the first season, I wasn't sure how she was going to handle the redemption arc, but I think she actually did really well with it. Because the thing with Maddie is that it seems like she doesn't care about her friends, like, at all, but then if you try and threaten them, she, like, goes full mama bear and will literally claw your eyes out. And it's when she starts being overly protective of Diego that she realizes that she cares about him as more than just a proxy. And I feel like she did a really good job of illustrating that. I do think she still overacts sometimes, but she is still an exaggerated stereotype character, so she has a bit of freedom to do that, and she handles Maddie's more realistic sides pretty well, so I can overlook that. Zoe Berger, the girl who plays Gigi in Season 2, is so much better than she was in Season 1 that I literally don't think I can even properly explain it to you. I mean, this is every which way, so in acting ability, she's still only about, like, average, but I will take average over absolutely terrible any day of the week. As I mentioned before, part of it is that she was just given more to do this season, so she wasn't constantly having to pull that faux reporter voice, but part of it is just that she actually improved between seasons, and for that, I am eternally grateful. As for the new actors, Rahart Adams is okay as Jax. Like, I mean, he's got, like, the physical presentation of the character absolutely down. Like, he's constantly got his arms crossed, he's got that, like, I don't give a crap walk. He's got, like, that shady way he squints at people. Like, he has got all of that down for a bad boy stereotype. I give him props there. But this guy has some remarkably bland line reads. Like, part of it is that, like, he has an Australian accent, but it's not the type of bouncy, "good day, mate" accent. His is a lot more dronish and flat. And, like, it's not his fault that he has a naturally very monotone voice. But if you have a naturally very monotone voice, maybe you shouldn't go into a career field that requires you to express emotion using your voice. A lot of his line reads sound like he understands the basic emotion that he's supposed to be feeling in a scene, but, like, he hasn't gotten fully into character yet. Like, imagine if in the last video when I said this, "Oh my god, Jax Novoa, you apathetic prick," instead of saying it like that, I said it like this. "Oh my god, Jax Novoa, you apathetic prick." A lot of his line reads are like the second version of that. To be fair, this isn't the entire way through the season. It sort of comes and goes depending on what scene he's in, which leads me to believe that he probably got better as the season went along, but obviously because they don't record TV shows in chronological order, you get, like, a really uneven performance from him. Overall, for this show's level of acting, he's probably still above average just because he has all the physical stuff down, but he's still not good. And finally, the person playing Agamemnon, Todd Allen Durkin, he is constantly overacting, but it honestly doesn't bother me, because for Agamemnon, he pulls this really ridiculous, fake-sounding voice that I am failing to imitate right now, and the overacting just adds to it, and makes his character the most hilarious part of the show. Unintentionally, of course. Unlike last season, the editing is slightly better here. It's got less random cuts. It's still not great, but I'm just gonna lump it into the gigantic category of things that are okay for a Nickelodeon show, alongside the set, cinematography, and music, except for the theme song. The theme song is freaking amazing, and the best part of the show, after Tony.
What you say?
However, one thing that isn't amazing this season is the special effects. Dear Lord Almighty, the special effects. I mentioned in my Season 1 video that I didn't want to mock the special effects too much because this show likely didn't have a large budget, and so it wouldn't really be fair of me to be mocking the effects when they didn't have the money for it. However, that is going straight out of the window as of this video, because it's not that the effects are 100% bad, it's just that they handle them in a really bad way. Let's start with Limbo, the area that Ramona and the other council members get banished to. Limbo is a white room that never ends, with a table and a chair, and smoke rolling around on the floor and in the distance. You're probably thinking to yourself, Molly, how could they possibly have messed that up that badly? Even if they couldn't build a set of a white room, surely they have a green screen and a smoke machine somewhere. What could they have possibly done wrong? Well, friends, apparently Nickelodeon, the company that makes more money in a single hour than I will ever see in my entire life, couldn't afford a smoke machine. A smoke machine costs $37 at Walmart. Instead, they just put a badly textured layer of CG smoke all around the bottom of the screen at all times. The problem is, whenever they change shots, the smoke doesn't change with it, so it's just even more terribly obvious that it isn't real. Once again, I know that kids aren't as likely to notice bad effects as older people do, and this is a kids show, so I can cut them some slack. I'm not going to, though. You know why? Because it's bad! There's also this moment in one of the very last episodes of the season where something explodes, and instead of just, like, cutting away from the thing and, like, shaking the camera while a loud noise plays, which is what I would do in that situation, instead, they just place a CG smoke cloud over the thing and call it an explosion, and it looks so bad. Like, it's, like, there's a lot of bad CG smoke clouds in this show, but most of the time they can get away with it due to where they place the clouds, but here, you can tell the editors did not care anymore. Another particularly painful thing to watch due to the effects is the final battle, which takes place right outside the entrance to the Witches' Council. Yeah, by the way, there's, like, some lockers at the school, and, like, when they slide apart, it has, like, the entrance to the Witches' Council inside. It's, like, a whole thing. First off, whenever the doors to the council open, instead of doing some sort of cool magic effect, it just emits a bright light that makes the entire scene filled with this aggressively bright filter. And, like, I'll admit that it looks cool at first, but it starts to hurt your eyes after, like, 30 seconds of looking at it. In addition to that, for most of the scene, Dark Emma is standing right in front of the council entrance, and for some reason it has this really trippy magic effect going on behind her that just hurts your eyes even more. And then, after a while, the entrance starts trying to suck the regular Emma inside it. Yeah, I don't know either, but the way they convey this is by, like, having a fan blow-off camera to try and make it look like she's being sucked in, and then just have, like, wires pull her across the floor while everyone else is, like, pulling on her hands. And I suppose this could have worked if, like, Emma's actress had actually made it seem like she was straining against some kind of magical force, but the entire time, she just looks like she's just chilling on the floor having a dandy time. Really, I wish I had footage of this last final fight to show to you guys, because it's ridiculously stupid looking. So, like, overall this season was pretty stupid. Like, season 1 was kind of stupid, but, like, at the very least, like, it had some redeeming qualities. I can see how someone could, like, actually genuinely like it, not in a so bad it's good way, but, like, just actually like it for what it is. But, like, this season, due to Jax's problematic behavior and just how scatterbrained everything is, I really don't know how someone could genuinely enjoy it unless they were like me, like an impressionable 12-year-old. Which, I mean, if you are, I'm not judging, because I was one once, but yeah. While watching this, I was getting really, really frustrated at Jax, and that was just making me more angry, so I feel like maybe if I wasn't as mad at him, I would have found certain aspects of this season more hilariously bad rather than just bad. I'm also pretty sure that a little bit of the reason why I was so mad at Jax is because I was also this mad at him when I was a kid. So I was being influenced by nostalgia a little bit. So if you can manage to watch the show and not get as mad at Jax as I did, then you might have a bit of an easier time just watching this to laugh at it. If you are the type of person who absolutely loves bad drama shows, and, like, you know they're bad, but, like, you just like sitting back and watching stupid people have stupid relationship drama, you will love this show, let me tell you that. However, please, for the love of God, don't take anything done on this show as, like, actual real-life relationship advice, because the only stable people on this show are Diego and...
What you say? That you only met.
I mean, I was still able to have fun with this season, just only during the parts that Jax wasn't in, which was only, like, 2% of the entire show, but still. And I am currently rewatching the 3rd season, and am most likely going to do a retrospective video on it, so you have that to look forward to in your life, if you care. Hey, at least watching this show is more fun than having to go back to school, which I have to do in, like, 9 days from now. Oh my god, why? Abby, I'll see you on Friday.